to the Onside Kick. Ricky Whitmer here along with Dave Oster.
Knock, knock.
And Mark Weber.
Who's there?
And today we're going to have a great podcast for you guys. Going to be talking some baseball, Chicago baseball, about the Cubs and the Sox. And then we're going to be previewing some college and NFL football. But guys, first, the trade deadline for the MLB is looming July 31st. And there are two Chicago pitchers, one Matt Garza of the Cubs and one Jake Peavy of the White Sox, that could be traded. The Cubs already told Garza's agent that he will be traded. Do you think he gets traded before Peavy?
I'd like to think so, because right now Peavy being traded relies a lot on his return from this injury. So I think they'd like to see maybe one more start out of Peavy before he gets traded. Garza could go any day.
Yeah, I think the Garza trade is just about to happen. It's going to happen at any minute. I think especially with a team like the Dodgers, they're a team that want a new, especially like a guy like Garza, I think is a good person to have on that team to make that last little push. They got Peavy. He's doing fantastic. They want to get whatever last bits they can to make their push into the playoffs. So teams want to get this done now. I don't think there's anybody making that same push for Peavy.
Well, and for Matt Garza, the four teams that the Cubs have told that they have to place their final bids for the right-hander. You have the Texas Rangers. Mark, you mentioned them, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Cleveland Indians, and the Toronto Blue Jays. And I don't know about you guys, the team that just jumps out to me is the Toronto Blue Jays, because it's like you went ahead and got Dickey and Burley. Do you think adding another veteran pitcher is really going to help you?
He's not old enough to be on the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, they're trying to spend money. They're trying to buy a championship. It didn't work. It didn't work in this division where they're the only team that's not good. And they're just going to, I don't know, try for one last desperate move.
It's stupid.
It is.
All around, I think the Toronto Blue Jays need to just kind of fire sale off. To be honest, it's like, hey, look, we're a team. Our big place didn't work. Okay, we went out and spent a bunch of money. Backfired, didn't work. Go out and get rid of those guys. Get some young talent. I know that's like the answer to every team, but really, it's not wrong. If you're not going to be putting yourself in a position to win a championship, why are you continuing this trend?
Well, we've said it for weeks upon end. Look at the Twins and their farm system. What do teams do to their farm system?
You just pick it off.
Yep.
And you know who's been doing it for over 100 years now?
The Yankees.
I was going to say the Cubs. Still doing it. Not a successful team. Still trying to just pick off those players and trade away their veterans for young players.
Well, the Cubs.
That's got to hurt a little.
It doesn't. I don't know. I feel like with the Cubs, when is it going to pay off?
That was my first. Well, that was my first thought with the Garza thing. It's another guy that Cubs fans love.
Think about how the Cubs got Garza. The big trade with the Rays. Oh, Matt Garza's coming to the Cubs, and ever since it's kind of been, whatever.
But I think that Cubs fans really like Garza. I think they kind of see him as a Cubs player who's been around for a while, who's been somewhat successful. I mean, he's a good pitcher. I think you see this and you kind of see it again as we're taking steps backwards. And they're not really taking steps backwards. But I think for your Cubs fans, you see this guy that you're losing just for young prospects of who knows what it's going to be.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it this way. He's in this is his third year since being traded to the Cubs. I mean, when he came over, that first season with the Cubs, 3.32 ERA, 10-10 in the win-loss column. And it's like, I don't know. Each year with Matt Garza, I've wanted to say, like, you're our ace, but I haven't seen it, if that makes any sense. And I mean, right now, 6-1 since coming back from an injury. And if we can get something from him, why not just trade him?
Yeah, as a Cubs fan right now, do you see this as we're taking steps to set ourselves up to make a run in 2015, 2016?
Well, I don't think it necessarily has a number or a this year attached to it. It comes down to, in the future, is Matt Garza really a part of the plan?
Well, at some point you have to flip that switch and go from we're a rebuilding team to we're a team striving for a championship.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, are the Cubs at that point?
No,
where
but
they
I'm
could
asking
say,
when do you think they'll be at that point?
Soon. Optimistically, I'd like to say soon. And I mean, looking at our rotation, I mean, if Wood pans out, and I'm talking about Travis Wood, if Samardzija can pan out as a pitcher. Those are two guys that I would like to see in this rotation in the future. And then, looking at the field, you got Rizzo, a young guy who's already going to be a face of the franchise. Castro's a face. Barney's a face. Of course, Soriano, we want him out of town.
Yeah.
We have the pieces. We just need to kind of fill in the holes, per se. And let me ask you a question then with Peavy. What team do you think is going to go after him, or what teams have been going after him?
See, there's no official say on who's going after Peavy right now. That's the thing. This is more of this guy, well, like the Sox came out and said, everybody was on the block except for Sale and Canerco. And everybody first thought is Peavy's the number 2 guy on this team. We got to go after him. He's a good pitcher. The only thing is he's a little bit injury prone. So you want to see how he recovers from this injury. And if he looks stable, he's definitely worth a pickup if you're going for a playoff push. I think probably the same teams who are in the running for Garza have to definitely take a look at Peavy. I could definitely see Texas going after Peavy.
So would it be the team that, let's say, hypothetically, let's say the Dodgers get him?
Yeah.
Do you think Texas then changes their kind of momentum and goes after Peavy instead?
Honestly, I think the thing, like you said, it's whoever doesn't get Garza is going to definitely be in the running for Peavy.
Well, the only team that hurts, and I'm going to say it, is the Indians. I don't think the Sox are going to trade Peavy to the Indians.
You don't see in-division trades too often. It's not a friendly thing to do.
I think the only reason you might see him go into the Cleveland Indians is if this kind of second game where Peavy plays, he doesn't do so well, and maybe the Sox think it's just moments away before he gets hurt again. Let's ship him over here because we know we're not going to see him that much.
Well, and you mentioned we want to see what he does in his second start. In his first start, 6 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 runs given up, 2 of them earned, and 1 home run against the Braves.
Yeah, that's the thing. Only 2 of them earned. So it's not the fact that he had a bad outing. It's just it wasn't ideal for him today. Not everything lined up, but it's okay. I think that I honestly think he'll come back from this injury without too many problems. The thing is, you just look at his history and how many games he's missed each season, and that kind of puts a little worry into you. But looked decent today, pitched a good amount of innings, so it's not like he's completely out of shape or anything. It was just a small injury, but I think he's definitely a big help to any team looking to make that deep run.
When it's all said and done, let's say July 31st comes and goes, August 1st comes by, he's not traded. What's your reaction?
I'll be pretty surprised. How about you, Mark?
I was actually going to say I wouldn't be that surprised. I won't be surprised if teams don't take a run at him because of the injury risk. You'll kind of be nervous to take a guy who's going to help you make that last push. You got to be nervous if he's going to be there at the end of, the World Series. How far you're going to go. The team who's going to trade for Peavy wants to get to the World Series and wants to win. I think you got to be scared about it. He's not known for staying out there at the Diamond. So, I'm not going to be too surprised if he's still in Chicago, and I'll be happy if he's still in Chicago.
And one of the last things that kind of closes out, kind of going back, because I forgot to ask this question, for the Matt Garza, I just want to throw out the prediction. I think he's going to be traded to the Texas Rangers because,
Really?
The one thing that the Cubs have been looking for is young pitching, and who's got the young pitching, and that's the Texas Rangers.
They always have young pitching. It's no matter where you look, Texas Rangers always have the young pitching. And yet, look at their major league staff. They got some aces out there already.
Exactly. I see it going to the Dodgers because of the fact that they just got Puig to show up, and he's, lights out. One more guy to just kind of show up and make that last little push.
See, and
this division, the Dodgers division really sucks, let's be honest.
Well,
this is not top-tier baseball.
We talked about it last week with the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, and the only thing with this Garza trade with the Dodgers that I could see being a kind of help for them is they've already worked with the Cubs in a trade this season where the Cubs sent them Carlos Marmol.
There you go.
Guys, I want to talk about something that we rarely talk about, if ever, and that's some college football. The SEC Media Days just happened, and Johnny Manziel, of course, is the highlight of the media right now. I have one question. Do you guys think that all the media attention, all the pressure is going to get to him, and do you think he's going to fall off?
I do. I think the one thing I think about Johnny Manziel, and you see it in, he gets a parking ticket, oh, I can't wait to be out of College Station. He oversleeps the Manning camp. It's these little signs. I'm not saying that he's not a good football player, because he is, but I think this season we're going to see, NFL teams are going to see, that you put a spotlight on this kid and he fizzles.
Really, Skip Bayless, he's 20 years old. He overslept for a class pretty much, and he got a parking ticket. And you're saying now he's irresponsible, immature, and going to have a bad year.
No, I'm not saying that just because he got a parking ticket, but you get a parking ticket and that makes you tweet out that, oh, I can't wait to leave College Station. He
was probably drunk when he made that.
Yeah,
tweet,
I know,
though.
Which, no problem. It's a college kid.
You got to follow the
Herm
Edwards rule. After, what was it?
Nothing good happens after 1 a.m. or 2 a.m.?
I can vouch for nothing past 3 a.m.
Once it's after midnight, anything you send out, it's not going to be good.
I feel with Johnny Manziel that we're going to see that the spotlight is upon him. And yes, he's a 22 or 20-year-old kid, but at the same time, you can't help that the spotlight is going to be on you. And now we see perfectly why his coach wouldn't let him talk to media during the beginning of last season.
And that really says something. When your coach, I severely doubt it was just kind of a philosophy of, I don't want him to talk.
He knows who Johnny Manziel is off the field.
Exactly. He knows his player. He knows he's not going to be able to handle it well. I really think that teams are going to be very interested in his talent because he's extremely talented.
He's a good
everything
quarterback.
He needs to be successful in college and even in the NFL. My thing is, I'm just nervous that he's not going to be mature enough to handle it. And next year, I think he will probably fall off a little bit, but that's because he just won a Heisman.
It's hard to relive.
Yeah, you're not going to get better than that. I still think he's going to be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft. And I'm nervous that he might kind of falter in the NFL because he is going to have trouble. If he thinks that this is a lot of pressure right now, he's getting a lot of attention right now, that's going to be amplified in the NFL when he suddenly becomes even more of a superstar, when he is the franchise quarterback, the whole quarterback that they're devoting their organization to for 3-4 years.
But that'll be when he's 22 or 23. I think he's going to learn from these little mistakes blowing up so hugely in the media that he's like, all right, so maybe I got to tone it down a little in the public side.
See, I don't know. I feel like Manziel, there's a reason why to be in the SEC, to be an image like you are in the SEC, you have to mature earlier than others. It's just written rule. But I feel like NFL teams at this point in time, yes, Dave, you say, oh, he basically overslept a class. But NFL teams could be looking at that saying, well, what if that was one of our camps that we were having players at and he overslept it? You don't want that from your quarterback.
Meanwhile, coaches don't give a shit when people get DUIs. I'm sorry, oversleeping, whatever happens, he's 20. I just can't give that any serious notion or knock on him.
The thing about the Manning camp thing, I think that is the issue. The oversleeping, I don't think is the issue. I think the thing that the media kind of jumps to, and I will say right now that I think all the Johnny Manziel stuff has been amplified more than
because he's Johnny Football.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, on the other side of that coin, turn your Twitter off. Just if you know nothing good is happening and the media is just scrutinizing it, just turn it off. But with that being said, I think the Manning camp issue was that he was removed from that. From what? He was removed one of the days of the camp because he was hungover. It's just kind of a disrespectful thing. That's, I think, the issue. Whether anyone, any college or any football coach, any NFL scouts see that and translate it as disrespectful, therefore we don't want him.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it this way. The way the NFL is working is we're not scouting players, and especially after the Aaron Hernandez thing, scouts aren't going to scout players in their off-the-field issues or life just the year before they're drafted. It's going to be day one. If you're an important figure like Manziel was when he basically came to college football, NFL teams are going to look at you from day one and see what happens. And it's like, so far, I mean, Johnny Manziel is not handling the limelight like many would think he should be.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to do without a doubt. I mean, I don't know. He easily could mature more, And I think
I hope he does.
Everybody is kind of blowing a lot of this up a little more than it needs to be. Do I think that that's a bad thing? Yeah, I do. But at the same time, it could easily just progress more and more.
Yeah, but
it's kind of a wait and see right now.
But look at it this way. Take an example. Look at Mark Sanchez in New York. Look at Tim Tebow in New York. What certain media outlets and certain areas in the U.S.
Because Johnny Manziel is going to be just as big as Tim Tebow.
No, but I'm saying like
I'm agreeing with that. I'm saying that
wasn't actually sarcastic.
No, I thought you were.
I know whenever I mention Tim Tebow, it's usually not serious. But in this situation, ESPN is going to be all over Johnny Football the same way that they are. Well, not just that. I mean,
let's say he does play in like an outlet like New York, even Chicago, L.A. Those are big outlets, and what you do during your personal time usually gets put on ESPN, TMZ, all these entertainment news that we have now for fans that want to see what they're playing. Look at what happened to Colin Kaepernick because he wore a Miami Dolphins hat.
You got to see what's happening right now with RG3, whether that whole sexting scandal is true or false.
Explain that for the listeners that might not know.
If you don't know what that is, apparently there was some woman who's a Hooters waitress that allegedly RG3 has been sexting with and sending her pictures and everything like that, even on his wedding day, so she claims. She's trying to sell these pictures. Her ex-boyfriend is also trying to sell pictures. How he has the pictures, I don't know. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's false. I don't know. But what matters is this story is gaining traction, and people look at RG3 and they associate
it's RG3.
it. Exactly. And this is the kind of thing that happens with the media, and players have to be able to handle it. I think RG3's done an exceptional job of handling it right now. He just hasn't said anything.
That's the correct response, yeah.
Yeah, just ignore it, pretend it doesn't happen. But, I mean, that's the thing that's going to happen in the NFL. And I do have one question I got to ask.
Okay.
Johnny Manziel, if he changes his name to Johnny Football legally, like Ocho Cinco.
Don't.
You get a
Don't
little,
do
you're
it.
going to get a little nervous?
Don't do it. Stay Johnny Manziel.
Is this just a hypothetical, or were there actual talks of
No, this is just hypothetical. Okay. Just because I would love to see.
You had me worried for a while.
I would love to see an NFL jersey with football on the back.
No. Keep Johnny Manziel, keep Johnny Football as a cool nickname.
Yeah, I'm with Ricky on this one. I'm sorry, it's hard to take that seriously. Johnny Football, okay.
Did you really take Ocho Cinco seriously when you saw it on the back of his jersey?
I thought it was hilarious.
It was hilarious, but did you take him seriously?
That's the difference. It fit his personality. I don't know Johnny Manziel well enough to be like, oh, funny. I'm just like, that's kind of weird and stupid.
Yeah, I think if Manziel changes his name, it kind of becomes like a celebrity fall from grace, Amanda Bynes style, where now she's a joke about being crazy. This will be the sign of Johnny Manziel has lost it.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you asked us a question, Mark. Let me ask you one. Johnny Manziel, we've talked about what he needs to do this season. How do you think this season turns out for Manziel and the Aggies of Texas A&M?
Well, I think that they have they're going to be able to kind of compete against all the big teams, and they have...
Do they beat Alabama?
No, they're not going to beat Alabama.
Even at home?
I don't think they will. I think Alabama's going to be pissed off that they lost before, and they do not want to lose any games.
That was a fantastic game, though, last year.
It truly was, but I think this time Alabama early on is going to be the game that shocks the world and says Johnny Manziel may not be all he's cracked up to be, and I think that's going to be the adding on to the fuel of the fire of the media circus.
But the great thing after that game is his schedule goes way downhill from that point on. I mean, you got some real gimme games. He has some time to recover his image after that game.
Which, are you saying the SMU and the Arkansas game are your gimme games? Or are you saying Ole Miss is a gimme game?
I'm going, I mean, that's early in the season. Just the fact that that's week 3 of the season. So,
and that's your first SEC opponent of the season.
Exactly. SMU, Arkansas. Further on, you have Vandy, UTEP, Mississippi State. I mean, hard ending, though, with LSU and Missouri.
To be honest, though, I am not going to be surprised if one of these Texas A&M games, one of the ones that are supposed to be an easy game, they just don't do it. They don't get it done.
I'm throwing Ole Miss in that category because, I mean, the one thing many people will probably overlook, because it's college football, If this was basketball with the recruiting class that Ole Miss had in 2013, people would be saying that they're a powerhouse. It's football, so people are like, oh, you know what? Freshmen don't start right away. But I expect most of these freshmen for Ole Miss, especially on that offensive line, to start. And October 12th at Ole Miss, we can have an interesting game against the Aggies.
Yeah, I just think there's going to be a couple of those situations where people question Johnny Manziel because it's just going to be hard to do what he did before. Any of those kind of slip-ups, he throws one too many interceptions, people are going to look to complain. He only threw 9 interceptions last year. That's incredible. There's no way he only throws 9 interceptions again.
Yeah, but I mean, another thing, and this goes too into the Alabama game, is it more they didn't know what to expect from Manziel last season? Now it's like we kind of have a game plan. Like we kind of have a plan to how to game plan for him.
But you can't even do that because he's such a mobile quarterback. He can throw. If you give him time in the pocket, his passes are amazing. He's got a great arm. He can throw on the move. Like, you can't game plan against someone with that level of talent in college, I believe. I mean, you got these 1-week turnarounds.
You don't think Nick Saban can come up with a good game plan against Johnny Manziel now that he knows what to expect?
He had a whole season last year to prepare for Johnny Manziel. Couldn't stop him. So I'm going, why is this here going to be any different?
So you think Texas...
He actually lost talent on that team.
So do you think Texas A&M is going to beat Alabama?
Did not say that.
Yeah, that's the question I'm going to now.
But
You're talking up Johnny Manziel.
I do think Manziel will have a fantastic year, but the Bama game scares me, and like you said, the Ole Miss game, that'll probably be the roughest part. I think that he'll be able to avenge the game against LSU. I think they lost a lot of talent on their defensive end, and I think actually on the good side for A&M is Manziel. They're probably going to fit that offense more comfortably around him, so he'll be able to play more naturally, and actually I think he'll have I don't want to say a better year, but I think offensive production-wise, I assume he'll have more yards and more touchdowns. The interception thing, he'll probably have more of those too because he'll be throwing the ball a lot more.
See, and the one thing I just want to bring up, because you mentioned LSU, I'm interested to see LSU this season just because the last time we saw them was a very interesting bowl game against Clemson where they lost 25-24.
Yeah, this season is going to be a redemption for LSU. I think they're going to be looking to make a lot of noise.
Probably one of the best bowl games that I've seen last season was the Chick-fil-A Bowl with Clemson and LSU.
It was a great one, but I just think that LSU, basically on any schedule I see of any of these teams that are good, Alabama, Texas A&M, I look to see the LSU game, and I point to that one and say, there's a loss. You know, because LSU
really? For
always
Texas
has the
A&M?
potential. Yeah.
So you're saying this year you're pointing at that
LSU.
game.
These are my losses for Texas A&M.
Okay.
Alabama, LSU, probably Ole Miss.
Okay.
Those are the only 3 I see them losing.
So 2 road games.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard. It's going to be hard to go to LSU. It's also going to be hard to go to Ole Miss. And Alabama, it doesn't matter where you are.
See, and plus, I mean, the one thing you got to think about, we're talking about the SEC where, especially in college football, any team in the SEC can have a good week and knock off a top dog.
Definitely. I mean, all the teams in the SEC are good for the most part. For the most part, they're all good. They compete with the best. They compete with players who are going to be going to the NFL, so they know what to do. They know how to play, and they can show up at any time. Football is one of those things. Any given Sunday, in this case, any given Saturday, we see it all the time. There's always upsets.
Well, guys, now to continue something that we started last week, and we're going to continue until the start of the NFL season, our divisional previews, and we got 2 this week for you guys. We're going to be doing the AFC West and the NFC West. Guys, let's start with the AFC. We have Oakland, San Diego, Kansas City, Denver. The biggest story, I would say, in this division, because of how weak it is, Denver. Can they win a Super Bowl?
They definitely have the tools to win a Super Bowl. They pretty much only were eliminated last year from the playoffs because of a terrible play.
Because their safeties couldn't play football?
Who let somebody get behind them? As a safety, your job is to be between the receiver and the end zone. Yeah. I'm not going to bring that back up again.
Yeah, it was bad. I, without a doubt, expect Peyton Manning to win a Super Bowl this year. They've been making all the moves for it. Peyton Manning is that close to retirement. I picture this as a John Elway moment. Go ahead, win a Super Bowl, retire.
Well, I mean, look at the receiving core that he had. He already had Thomas, which he kind of got in sync with right away. You have Decker, who's a good third, and then you add Wes Welker, who is Tom Brady's
Safety blanket.
Safety blanket, whatever you want to call him, for so long. You put him on the other side of the football, and it's going to be Thomas and Welker with, I'm assuming, Decker in the slot, which might be weird because I've always known Wes Welker as a slot guy.
No, Welker will be in the slot. And then they got Dreesen and Tammy at tight end, so they're not going to be afraid to go 2 tight end setup. This is a scary offense.
Well, and I mean, on top of it, you got, will Noshawn start, or will they start Monta Ball, the rookie out of Wisconsin?
I think Ball's got a good chance at this.
I actually think it's going to be kind of a running back by committee situation.
Really?
Yeah,
you got good guys.
That makes sense.
You got multiple guys you can use. Why not have the change of pace?
Pretty much, it does seem like
True.
everybody in the NFL, unless they have that one guy like AP, they're going to run back by committee because it keeps defenses legitimately guessing. They don't know, like, all right, now they're bringing the power guy, now they're bringing the speed guy. I mean, you got to keep changing up personnel.
Well, and I mean, we know this offense, when you have Peyton Manning behind it, you know you're going to pass more of the time than you're going to run.
But, that does make the runs more effective when you do actually call, because he's going to run play action.
Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, on top of it, on defense, I mean, when you're bringing back Von Miller, Ayers, Rogers, Cromartie, and Champ Bailey as your corners, I mean, is this team... I don't want to crown them Super Bowl champions because you have to play the games. Because you have to play the games, but I feel like even looking at their schedule, I mean, week 1 is going to be very important because usually you play the defending champions in their own building, but because the Baltimore Orioles were bags, Baltimore has to travel to Denver week 1.
Well put.
Yeah, I think that that's a good advantage. The early Eli Manning, Peyton Manning battle is going to be very interesting to watch.
In New York.
To be honest, I have no understanding of how that's not a primetime game. It's a 4:25 Eastern game.
I think that one is going to be a flex start to 7. I think they're going to bump it.
I think they have to. It's going to be extremely interesting. But besides that, I mean, getting to play Philadelphia. Nothing to be scared
of.
of.
Right now, that week 2 Sunday night game, San Francisco at Seattle.
Oh.
So maybe that's why it's not a Sunday night game.
That is a tough one, and they're kind of the thing that everybody's looking forward to.
Hey, it's our next division that we're going to talk about after this.
Honestly, I'm more excited. I'll be more excited that day to watch the Manning Bowl than I will be to watch.
You got 3 Super Bowl rings versus 0 Super Bowl rings.
And this is what I'm saying right now. It goes off the prediction I already made, but I think that this is a year where Peyton Manning sticks it to his brother, ties him for the 2 Super Bowl rings, and says, no, you are not better than I am.
Yeah, but I mean, the one thing that you got to throw out there is that would make him 2-1, where Eli's perfect.
He's been to 3.
Perfect.
He's been to 3.
Doesn't matter. You can make it to as many Super Bowls you want. If you don't get that ring, wasted.
He's been to 3.
And now the rest of the division, the battle for second place.
One of the teams, I mean, that I'm interested for, I know, Dave, you said that when I brought it up, you were like, we forgot he's a quarterback, but the Chiefs with Alex Smith, they actually get a quarterback.
Well,
who can manage an offense,
I believe is what you're looking for.
Andy Reid is familiar, or could be familiarized with, because I see Alex Smith and I think of him as a better Kevin Kolb.
Well, yeah, Kevin Kolb is the greatest backup quarterback in the NFL.
The highest paid as well.
Talked about him last week.
Yeah, I think that Alex Smith has all he needs to competently run this offense to around its potential.
You don't have much potential there. That's the problem. You have Dwayne Bowe, and then you have nothing.
I mean,
you got Jamal Charles. I mean, that's fun, but that's not going to be that big of a difference. Yeah.
You got Charles in the backfield, but I wouldn't put anything past. I mean, McCluster and Avery, they're not just chump change out there.
We got to remember, though, Alex Smith was not good until the system was brought in. So, will the kind of system with Reid be as good with him as the Harbaugh system was? Because I think that, obviously, it's easy to succeed in Harbaugh's system. He's a
think
fantastic
so
coach.
because I mean,
Reed's a good coach as well.
He's a quarterback coach too.
Look at the Andy Reid system. It worked great with Donovan McNabb. When we got to Michael Vick and Kevin Kolb, that's where we saw the decline and why he got fired.
That's an interesting thing because so far, lately, the only quarterbacks he's been interacting with hasn't been working. The only reason Michael Vick worked because it shocked everybody. And you're not going to have the same shock with Alex Smith.
They're getting a very average arm, very average feet.
Yeah,
this is not going to blow anybody out of the water.
With Donovan McNabb, would you say that would you take the same way you described Alex Smith and describe him successful?
Donovan McNabb was a very, very versatile quarterback. He was able to do rollouts.
So is Alex Smith. Alex Smith can roll out.
If you put Alex Smith in the same category as
just a pocket
Donovan McNabb, you are
passer.
blind.
No, I'm not saying putting him in the same category success-wise.
No.
But I mean, Alex Smith, I'm not saying that they're going to the playoffs or anything, but I'm saying that Alex Smith could fit the same role, but not as good as McNabb. I'm not saying he is Donovan McNabb. I'm saying he could play in the pocket. He can roll out in mobility.
Not really.
Now, you think, Ricky, that they have an opportunity to win 8 games.
At the most. Will they? Probably not.
Who are some of those teams that you think they can beat that people would be surprised by?
The for sure wins, I'm going to put Jacksonville, Cleveland. I would even say that maybe they beat Oakland twice. That's 4. And then besides that, you have, I would say they could beat Buffalo if Kevin Kolb is starting.
But E.J. Manuel will be starting by that point.
They could beat Tennessee, and I could easily see them beating Dallas. That would be a shock game week 2 because to me, I think Dallas isn't that good. People are overhyping America's team. And I put America's team in quotes.
I still think Dallas is going to put it to the Chiefs this year. I don't see this one being a close game. I see them maybe pulling off 5 wins. I mean, I just think that this team has very little depth at a lot of key positions, which is going to be exposed pretty early in the season.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a little different with them, is as long as they get, for the Chiefs, as long as you get more than 2 wins, if you get your 5 wins that you're saying they're going to get, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm happy with that because at least it's not 2-14.
It is an improvement, but I mean, I don't know. It's a long way.
Well, I mean, we're not going to sit here and argue that they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they'll be better than 2-14.
They could be better than 2-14. They have the potential to be.
Yeah, Alex Smith, I think, is a good addition, obviously, because all of a sudden you have a quarterback.
I think you guys are actually undermining the addition of Alex Smith.
Well, I think the problem is that Alex Smith himself doesn't do anything for you. Alex Smith plus some actual wide receivers will do something for you. Alex Smith was only successful when the 49ers offense had other parts.
And
when it was relying on him, he failed miserably.
Who says that's not to come?
And if
one move at a time.
If that does come in the future, that'll be great for them. I just don't exactly. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if the Chiefs are going to be able to wait. I don't know if they're going to want to wait for Andy Reid to slowly bring people in, because there's no attraction for anybody to go to the Chiefs.
That's why you got to make an attraction. But I mean, you guys talk about potential, and I just think of Phillip Rivers in San Diego. I mean,
wasted potential?
Wasted, exactly. And I mean, yeah, you add Danny Woodhead, but you're basically replacing Darren Sproles. And I mean, this is a team where the only thing that I feel that will maybe sell a little tickets is, oh, hey, look, you drafted Manti Te'o. Good for you.
But I think a lot of people are kind of sick of Manti Te'o, to be honest. I mean, the San Diego fans, I'm sure they're kind of happy about it. I don't know. San Diego, to me, they're probably in competition for the number 2 spot because this is a weak division. They'll probably win the number 2 spot. I don't know. I always feel bad for Phillip Rivers because he should be somewhere else.
He should be in New York, and Eli should be in San Diego. He should be in
New York. He should be able to succeed in New York. Eli Manning's the one who should have went to the Chargers.
Instead, he gets stuck in San Diego, where the team is just handed off talent left and right, and he's basically left with Antonio Gates.
Exactly. He has nothing to work with, and Eli Manning has had everything to work with. It's just a shame. I mean, I like Eli Manning, but it's just a shame for Phillip Rivers. You got to feel bad for him.
Yeah, and the other disappointing thing so far has been Ryan Matthews. This was a guy coming out of college with a lot of talent, a lot of hype around him, and he just comes out injuries, and but we do see some sparks of brilliance out of him. But he's got to stay on the field, got to stay healthy.
And then last but not least, Oakland. Are they going to be now that Kansas City got Alex Smith? Is Oakland going to be last in the West, or is it going to be KC?
KC's still going to be last in the West. I'm
really?
Sorry. Yep.
You think Oakland's going to win more games than Kansas City?
I do. And as
with
much
Matt
as it
Flynn,
pains me to say it,
with Matt Flynn,
Darren McFadden,
with who? Who's their quarterback, Ricky?
Matt Flynn.
You sure about that?
Terrell Pryor.
It's going to be interesting, or is it going to be another quarterback named Wilson?
And I mean, you talk about teams. We talked about Phillip Rivers not having anything receiver-wise. I look at the Oakland Raiders, and I just go, who? I look at their receiving core and I go, who?
The only guy who could catch a ball on this team was traded away. So you don't have anything. I mean, what do you have to work with? You have Darren McFadden. That's the only player.
Jacoby Ford can catch.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess Cribbs works, kind of.
That'll be an interesting addition. I want to see how they use him in the play calling, though, because that's the thing. You have these extremely talented guys, but only when they're put in the right set of circumstances.
But that's the thing. If you can get something going on with McFadden, Terrell Pryor, and Cribbs, I think you can get a fairly mobile offense.
I mean, you got to look at some of the additions, I'm going to say, on the defensive side of the ball for them. Of course, they bring back Woodson, but I mean, look at their draft. DJ Hayden, cornerback from Houston, had a little bit of an injury. Thank God he's still alive. Do you expect him to bring anything to the team? Any success?
Well, I think that the Oakland Raiders defense was the only thing that was redeemable about the Oakland Raiders last year. So they're the team that needs offense to be figured out. That's why they got Flynn. I don't think it was a good investment. I think that multiple teams have not had it work out with him. Why do you think it's going to be any different for you? I don't know. I don't think defense is the thing that the Oakland Raiders need to be worried about. What they need to be worried about was the fact that they were never able to score points.
I just see Matt Flynn as like a Kevin Cobbin waiting. Think about it. This is a guy, he came out, he played awesome games.
You say that and my mind goes, wow.
Payday.
Well, he had that one game.
He played 2 games in
Yeah,
Green
but
Bay.
I mean, to be honest, the one that I remember is that one where was it against the Lions where he went off?
This is something that needs to be said. Any quarterback can be successful on the Green Bay Packers. Anybody can do it. It's no surprise that he did a good job. And here's the thing. Matt Flynn lost his job, and I know that Russell Wilson is good, but Ricky, what round was Russell Wilson drafted in?
3rd, was it?
Yes.
Was it 3rd?
You get drafted in the 3rd round. You're short as hell. Nobody expects you to ever start a game.
He got, and this could kind of segue over into our NFC West, but I mean, he got drafted in the 3rd round, but was he really first-round talent? Looks like to me he might have been.
It doesn't matter what talent you are.
Yeah, it does.
You got to value.
That's why success. That's why how successful
you
are.
Because you were evaluated down into a 3rd, and they did not trust Matt Flynn. They weren't able to just give him a job. Yeah. They said, "We don't trust you. We're going to let our 3rd round pick."
Yeah, and it was one of the best moves they ever made.
But the thing is, this is the guy they paid, premier contract money to, Matt Flynn, to be their quarterback, to lead them for years to come. And then it's like, never mind, 3rd round kid's better than you.
Well, I think what it was in Seattle is they trade for Flynn. Flynn's going to be the guy. And then they see that it was the fact that Russell Wilson dropped to them. I don't think they were expecting Wilson to drop to them. And then when he did, Seattle's like, oh, we got to take this. Pete Carroll's like, we got to take this. And he just became Pete Carroll's guy.
I guess so, but I mean, I don't know. And Pete Carroll, of course, is a guy who's going to have faith in college quarterbacks and college systems and things that typically don't work in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Russell Wilson surprised a lot of people. I think that he will probably have a bit of a sophomore slump.
Really? I don't think so. Especially with the rivalry that they're going to set up between him and Kaepernick.
We'll get to it. Well, actually, I guess we're at it right now.
Yeah.
All right, we're talking about them right now.
I'm going to say 1-2 in the NFC West, Seahawks and 49ers. Not that order. I'm just saying they're going to be the top two teams by far.
I mean, I think that they're going to be the top two teams because the other two teams are the St. Louis Rams and the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
And I think that the Seahawks are going to be good because they're a team that is good. They have so many different players. It doesn't matter. I just think that Russell Wilson is going to have a few games this year where he will probably disappoint people.
But they did the right thing in the off. I mean, both these teams had an amazing offseason. Seahawks picking up Percy Harvin, who, when he's on the field, is a difference maker.
When he's not, he's just a headache.
Oh, funny joke from the Vikings fan.
No, I'm serious. It's
Funny.
a headache. That's all he gets.
It's all right because this is a team that didn't have that go-to wide receiver last year and still did so well. He made Golden Tate look like a wide receiver. Golden Tate.
Well, I mean,
Pretty impressive.
It's kind of easy to make your wide receivers look good when you have beast mode in the backfield. What we talked about, when you have a run game.
Yep.
Well, plus your quarterback is a run game. Russell Wilson's a fast, mobile guy.
Well, and this is one thing that I saw on ESPN. They broke down one of his plays where how much he scrambled in the backfield to get, it was like a 5-yard gain, but he ran so much in the backfield, it was like 25 yards he ran total.
And I think that obviously that's good, but I just don't think that can work all the time. I'm not saying that the Seattle Seahawks are going to be a bad team. I still think that they will be in the playoffs this year. I just think that there's going to be some games that they'll lose. Obviously, the San Francisco, I say that's a split.
Really? A split?
I
mean,
think it's a split.
You got to look
they're
at
both fantastic teams.
San Francisco, Crabtree, Manningham. Oh, yeah, Anquan Bolden is your receivers now. Colin Kaepernick still your quarterback.
It's going to be good, but I don't know. I think it's a split. I say both teams are going to win their home games because that's what a good rivalry is going to be. The Cam Newton game going to Carolina, I think Cam Newton's going to go out there and say, last year there was a lot of people doubting me. This year I'm going to show this young kid, it's only a year younger, but I'm going to show this young kid that I'm the mobile quarterback that everyone should want to be, not you. Because he stole attention away from Cam Newton. So I think Cam Newton's going to try and get that game, has a good chance of doing it. The game against the Colts is going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I was looking at that one's interesting just though because it's Wilson and Luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Same quarterback class.
They get to play the Atlanta Falcons. They're going to play your Vikings, which had a great draft. They're going to play Drew Brees. Do you really think that Russell Wilson can go head-to-head with Drew Brees? Personally, I don't. Eli Manning as well.
Too bad he's not going against Drew Brees. He'd be going against that Saints defense.
Yeah, but he's going to be in a shootout with Drew Brees. Drew Brees
but
is
it doesn't matter.
Shootout.
It depends on which at that game, at that point on Monday night, it's which defense is going to be better. And right now, based on how the Saints played last season, I'd give it to the Seahawks.
It's going to be very interesting. I don't know. I just think that a lot of these games, and I mean that's what I'm saying. Where I think that the Seattle Seahawks are still going to be a good team. They're still going to win a lot of games. They'll make the playoffs. But Russell Wilson himself, I think, is going to disappoint a little bit. I don't think he's going to have a bad season. I just think that he's going to have a typical sophomore slump.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. I think this team is based around the defense, and it will continue to win because of the defense. Russell Wilson is just there to keep the motor running, and they've added, like I said, I think the addition of Percy Harvin gives them a whole lot more power on that offense. I think he's going to have a better year this year than he did last year. I think more options on offense. They're really going to open up the playbook with him. And Pete Carroll trusts this kid with the entire franchise completely.
And that's all you need. Once a coach trusts his quarterback, it's either the best thing in the world or a death sentence.
And I think in Russell Wilson's case, it is a good thing because he's proven that he can just off the fly do whatever it takes to win games. And I think that's a great thing. All of Seattle loves him. Fans, the team as well, they have complete faith in him. But San Francisco 49ers are going to be the ones to win this division. Again. They're going to win it again.
They're the team that it's theirs to win, I say. Because, I mean, they are the defending NFC's champions. To me, it's going to be, okay, Colin Kaepernick, you came in mid-season, got your team to a Super Bowl. Well, Alex Smith ain't there anymore. What can you do when you know you're the guy from week one?
It doesn't matter what Colin Kaepernick can do. You got Frank Gore, who's going to get anybody to move out of his way, whether they want to or not.
On top of speedback LaMichael James.
Exactly.
Who's finally going to get some more playing time this year.
Exactly. The combination this year between Kaepernick and LaMichael James, it's going to be unbelievable. Then you got Manningham, you got Crabtree, you got Davis, obviously. They somehow got him to come back for one more chance to win a Super Bowl. Anquan Bolden.
And A.J. Jenkins, if they ever decide to play him either. He may suit up this year.
Yeah, he might see some field on this one. But it's unbelievable. And that's just the offense. And arguably...
Look at their defense. Namni.
Exactly.
Asamoah.
The defense is better than the offense, yet the offense
Bowman,
is what gets all the
Willis,
attention.
Brooks. I mean, this team, if they're not the best team in the NFC this year, I'd be surprised.
So do you think that between the rivalry, Seahawks and San Francisco, you may have already said it, but is it a split or does one team take it away? What do you think?
It's either going to be, I'd say, either one or two outcomes. Either they split or San Francisco takes both of them.
I'm leaning towards a split. I think both these teams are phenomenal. I got to see a split.
But, I mean, we talked about the one thing that I keep thinking about in this division. We're talking about the Niners and the Seahawks. The Cardinals and the Rams made some good additions.
But they suck.
I'm not saying they don't suck, but look at the Rams. They add Ogletree, an outside linebacker that we were all saying that the Bears were probably or should be. It would be great if the Bears drafted. They bring in Jake Long from Miami. They draft Tavon Austin, another weapon for Sam Bradford to work with. And I know, Dave, you've been the one to say, well, Sam Bradford's been in the league for 5 years. I want to see what we've expected to see. I think this could be a season. They might not make it to the playoffs, but we will see better numbers out of Sam Bradford.
I have more faith in Arizona's quarterback than
really?
I do.
You have more faith in
Sam
Carson Palmer?
Yep. I just think Sam Bradford's a bust. I think it's just the biggest mistake this team has been clinging to him for this long.
I really agree. Well, I don't agree that he's a bust, but I think
don't.
that Sam Bradford needs a new location. It's not working for him in St. Louis. He's got to go somewhere else.
Yeah, but we've seen what new locations can do. Look at Carson Palmer. He
Look
leaves
at
and goes
Carson
to Oakland. It's like, okay, he's whatever.
He threw to a bunch of guys with no hands and still had good numbers.
But I mean,
you can do well in a new location.
the only thing I'm thinking about Arizona is look at their running back now. They bring in Mendenhall from Pittsburgh, one of the guys that might not start. But Dave,
You'll
love
be on
him.
that team.
Ryan Swoop from Texas A&M caught a few passes from Johnny Manziel.
A few amazing passes
last year. But I mean, with the Cardinals on defense, I'm looking at them and going, you know what?
Look, the defense was fantastic last year. What are you talking about? It's the offensive line that scares the crap out of me. They can't
protect
water.
anyone.
And plus, they have the Honey Badger.
Yes, they do. I love the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to be the third team in this division.
You think can the Cardinals make a push to maybe be the second team? You think
I think they're a year away from that.
a year away?
Maybe a couple more.
I
like the Cardinals team.
I think that the Cardinals are in an unfortunate position, and I'm sorry if you're a fan of the Arizona Cardinals, but your defense is too good to let you lose enough games to get
a
better quarterback. Because you're stuck with Carson Palmer, a decent game manager. I'm not
Dude's
as
got
high
an arm, so Fitzgerald is happy.
I'm going to make a bold prediction about the Cardinals. By week 6, when
Super
they
Bowl.
go into San Francisco,
This was a team that was 5-0 last year.
they will either be 5-0 or 4-1 because they've got the Rams, the Lions, the Saints, the Buccaneers, and the Panthers.
That's a pretty good.
They lose
The only team
4 of those games.
No, the only team I have them maybe losing to is the Saints because of Drew Brees.
They're going to lose to Detroit.
Why? How?
Because
You're funny.
at the beginning
How many interceptions is
of
Stafford gonna
every
throw?
season, the Detroit Lions impress people, and
So
they
do the
always
Cardinals.
think this will be the time they
The
get
Cardinals
it done.
did last year.
They're not going to go to New Orleans and beat Drew Brees.
Depends
They're
on how
not going
defense
to
plays.
go to the newly refreshed, revived Tampa Bay.
Josh Freeman's going to be run out of town.
And Superman himself is still on this mission to prove to everybody that he is not a bust. You should not be scared of Cam Newton.
Carolina is so represented that Nike even screwed up a shirt
And then
by putting South Carolina. Did you guys, either of you see that?
I did see that. It's embarrassing.
They put the Panthers logo and NC in a blue outline of South Carolina.
No, this is pathetic.
That's how much Nike appreciates the Panthers.
Down. They lose then to Cam Newton. They will then lose to San Francisco.
Oh.
They will then lose to Russell Wilson. They will lose to Matt Ryan. Then lose to Houston.
I'm saying going into that week 6, they could be 5-0.
By week 10, they will have only won one game, and it will be the first game against the St. Louis Rams.
Nuh-uh. If you think the Lions are going to beat the Cardinals, you're smoking something. And I mean, Cam, I think
it's going to take a little bit for the Honey Badger to get used to the NFL.
I think you put too much stock in Cam Newton.
I think that, no, because this is the season. Cam Newton could not get it done.
Fantasy points don't translate to the real scoreboard.
The reason Cam Newton was not able to win games was because of his defense. They put him in positions every single game.
Dan, how's that going to change this year? Tell me.
I think that they're going to be improved now, and the fact that Cam Newton has been having an entire year of people hating him. He was frustrated. He was called a baby. He was called immature. I even called him immature. So I think that he is going to be coming back. He's had a lot of people criticize him. He knows what he has to do. He has to go lights out.
I'm looking at this Carolina defense, and the only names that are sticking out to me, of course, they have Star Latuile, the newly drafted rookie. But, I mean, the only person I'm seeing, maybe Beeson on the outside, and then their sophomore linebacker, Kuechly? Did I screw that name up?
Yeah.
Say it again, Dave.
Kuechly.
Luke Kuechly.
Yeah, he's amazing. He led the team last year. He was the boss.
That's 3 guys.
Latuile should have been drafted number 1 overall. It's a mistake that he wasn't.
Except for some heart issues.
Doesn't matter. He's going to be incredible. And he will, when he's got money, he will be able to do, and with a team that's 3
players on a defense where Cam Newton's going to go up against how many names from the Arizona defense did we name off?
Yeah, but Beeson can get it done as well. When he's got other guys coming up, Beeson will perform.
Beeson was one of the 3 that I listed.
Oh, I didn't realize he was one of your guys.
Yeah, Beeson, say it again. I'm going to screw it up. Kuechly and Latuile. Those are the 3 I named.
I just think that the Panthers this year are going to do better, and Cam Newton will be more of Cam Newton in his rookie season than he will Cam Newton in the sophomore.
Doesn't matter. Arizona's getting 6 wins this season.
Just 6?
No.
5 of them will be in the first 5 weeks.
That's according to you. Okay, I did not say that.
No way.
I think they're a solid chance.
By the end of the season, they win maybe 2 games. Maybe 3. Their upside is they could win 4 because they could beat Indianapolis, or not Indianapolis. They could beat Philadelphia. They can beat St. Louis twice, and they can maybe beat Tennessee. But I severely doubt
Jacksonville.
They're going to lose. See, on upside, they can win 5 games.
See, I got them in the 5 to 7 range, which is way above the.
But we gotta remember, when you lose 9 games in a row, is Carson Palmer still going to be the quarterback of this team? Or are they going to go
if they lose 9 games in a row, is Carson Palmer in one piece still?
Will they have a quarterback left on the roster, or will they be signing Jamarcus Russell?
Are they going to be playing Drew Stanton before this season's over?
I pray not.
They're just in a bad position. I mean, the defense is too good for them to be terrible. But, I mean, I guess looking at that...
You have no faith in this team,
I have no faith in them at all.
It's very clear.
They've got a good possibility, number 1 overall pick. Even though I disagreed with myself earlier and said that the defense is too good for them to tank that badly, looking at their schedule, I just can't see them getting it done. I can't see them winning more than 3 games.
Well, I think that's going to do it for the Onside Kick this week. I want to thank all of you for listening. Don't forget to comment down below, hit the subscribe button, like button, all that good stuff. Tell us what you think. We love talking to you guys about the sports that we bring to you every single Sunday. And don't forget, have a good day, everybody.